Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are luxury obsessed, then this is the place for you. Okay, we're back for part 2. I've gone through Hong Kong and I really hope you enjoyed that video, and now I'm going to take you through Japan. I'm going to try and keep it quick and succinct because I appreciate I don't want to end up talking for an hour or more. But we did go to Tokyo, Kyoto and Osaka, so I'm going to follow the same format as last time and just take you through the shops that we visited, as well as showing you the fun things that I bought along the way. Okay, so let's start with Tokyo. We had a few different things that we wanted to do outside of just shopping, of course. So we really only focused one of our days on exploring the luxury Preloved market in Tokyo. And we were staying in an area right next to Ginza, which is one of the main shopping hubs. There's also Shinjuku, Shibuya, but we really focused on Ginza because firstly, it was so close to us, and secondly, they had a lot of vintage stores there. So on the day that we dedicated for me to go and explore the shops, we started at a store called Okura, and there are a lot of Okuras across Japan. I think it's like a chain. Downstairs, they had a lot of different watches. There were a lot of different styles, but when we went upstairs, that's where they had most of their bags. So a lot of Hermes bags, a lot of other brands, but they also had small leather goods, twillies, those types of things. And they're pretty decently priced, but they are still expensive. Like, I don't think you're really getting a bargain. However, I felt like I got a bargain, which has come home with me, is the 2006 Loire de Paris yacht cadena. So some people might know what a cadena is, others might not, but they were a limited edition, essentially charm that you could hook into your bag. So this one comes apart like that, and sorry, I'm trying to work out the best way to hold it to show you guys, but it's a little ship and it was limited edition. They changed them either every year or every other year, and I think they stopped doing them in maybe it was 2011. They actually started them up again last year, and that was one that I bought, and it's of a flagship store in Paris, has a secret compartment, it's very cute. And so this is the only other one I have, and the other one that I have is in silver, and this one is in gold, and I think it goes with my new Kelly perfectly. So that was the first purchase, and that was from Okura. Sorry, I should have said the cadena that I bought was around $899 or $900 Australian dollars. And when you look online, the cheapest I could find was just under $2,000. So it felt like it was a really good deal. They're very hard to get now, the cadenas, and I think people are starting to catch on to them, particularly with decorating your bag and that type of thing. We then continued walking, and I'm just going to get my notebook out so I can tell you exactly where we went. And we went to another chain store called Watchnian, and they had downstairs so many watches, like watches of every style. My husband actually was considering buying a watch from there because there was some really beautiful pieces. But upstairs was basically an Hermes heaven. And I know I said that in Hong Kong. This store was beautifully set up, color-coded, style-coded, everything. Whatever you were looking for, they probably had it. It was incredible that there were that many Hermes bags available. I obviously had a little look around, but what I was actually looking for was a twilly for my new Kelly bag, and I ended up finding this one. It's called the, oh, I'm gonna butcher this, Guepoids Bandana Multi-Color in Rouge Age, Gris Pearl, and doesn't say what the other color is. But basically one side is this kind of bandana print, and then the other side is the leopard print, which I think looked really nice against the Rouge Granat of my bag. And then the twilly was 380 Australian dollars, and still a little bit cheaper, especially because it is a double-sided twilly as well. So we then had a look at a few different places. Kindal is an incredible secondhand, pre-loved designer store that sells incredible clothes as well as shoes and bags. But I would say Kindal is a really good mix of mid-range luxury brands and high-end luxury brands, particularly for clothes. Kindal is probably the place you want to go and have a look because the quality was there, the pricing was really not that bad. Their bags were pretty nice, they had a really good mix of brands, but I'd say that's the clothes destination to go to. Typical ones like Brandoff were there, similar prices to the rest of Japan, similar variety of brands. Then there was, I guess, a sister boutique. One was called Orange Boutique and one was called Black Boutique. And if you can guess, Orange Boutique was all Hermes. It's like you're walking into a really well-lit museum gallery type thing. All the bags were in individual boxes. But here's where you can find vintage Hermes bags that are not your usual Kelly 25, Kelly 28. This is where you'd be finding the exotic leathers, the different materials, the older styles. Pricing definitely matched the rarity, but it was worth going to visit. And then either one floor up or one floor down was Black Boutique, which had purely Chanel. And again, Chanel of your dreams kind of thing. If you're looking for an unusual style or a seasonal piece, this would be a good place to go. Pricing wasn't too bad. It was probably on par with the market that I saw in Japan. Then a few of the other ones we went to that were not like one of the big brand names. There was Allu. I'll put the name on screen. This was really cool. It was multiple levels. They had a really good variety of handbags, but also some clothing like Chanel ready-to-wear and jackets and shoes and that type of thing, and a good mix of Hermes bags as well. I think it was worthwhile visiting just to have a look at what they have in case there's something that you might be looking for. Luxaria was Hermes only, but again, some beautiful pieces worth popping into. There was Resale brand Ginza, which I think just had a good mix. Midoriya, again, good mix. Loire or Mohlong Luxury, that felt like they had a good mix. They had some really pretty bags in there, but I would say they were all pretty on par. The one other thing that I got in Tokyo, which was on my wish list, is a pair of Allu ballet flats. So firstly, look at how cool the packaging is. It's like in a leather box with a strap. And these were on my wish list. I have been talking about them for ages. My husband refers to them as the chicken wire shoes. So I managed to get them in a big shopping mall in Ginza called Ginza 6. They are so comfortable. I have already worn them. I love them. I just think they're such a cool style. So that was probably Ginza. I will say, if you are a coffee lover, we broke up our shopping in Ginza by going to this coffee shop called Glitch. You will probably see a line of people waiting outside. I would say if you can afford to wait, you may as well, because I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker. That is my drink of choice, whereas my husband loves coffee and he loves strong coffee. So we went to Glitch mainly for him, but essentially you wait outside, you then go in and they have like 12 canisters of coffee beans on the counter, and each coffee bean has a description of kind of like a wine, like you'll have taste essences of this, and you smell the beans and you can actually smell what it says on the card. And when I tell you, I was the one saying to my husband, let's go back there and get another coffee, let's try different beans. They tasted so good. It was like you're drinking a tea. Anyway, I digress, but I would say if you're gonna go and do a day at Ginza and you like coffee, or even if you don't, it's worth going to Glitch to try. Hot tip. Anyway, on another day, we went to an area called Shimokitazawa, and this is a cool area. It is not packed, it's not crowded. It feels like you're in just a really nice suburb of Tokyo. And here they have a lot of vintage clothes. And I'm not talking about pre-loved luxury, I'm talking about actual vintage. So if you are a person who loves to go vintage shopping to see what you can find, this is an amazing area for that. Yes, there were some areas that had designer pre-loved, but most of it is just vintage clothing. And there are a few stores that we popped into. Second Street is a really well-known pre-loved store. They do often have designer as well as just a crazy amount of Levi 501s, lots of American type of apparel. Like there's just like so much stuff. You could spend hours in there hunting for amazing bargains for clothing. There's also TreFac Style that again had a really big mix of clothing brands, high, low, etc. One that I thought was really beautiful that did have a lot of pre-loved designer was a store called Circulable Supply. It was very beautiful. They had some really nice styles. So if you're interested in going to an area of Japan that isn't the usual Shibuya, Shinjuku, Ginza, etc., Shimokitazawa is a really cool area and really walkable and just quiet, and you're not just fighting crowds, and it feels like locals are hanging out there. There's some great restaurants, some great pubs, bars, etc. as well, so you can kind of make a bit of a afternoon, evening of it. Okay, moving forward. We then went to Kyoto. We were only there for 3 or 4 nights, and again, we wanted to do a lot more than just shop, but on one of the days we kind of went to have a look at the main market area and all the shops around there and the restaurants, etc., which was a really fun day. I would actually say I didn't find too many vintage pre-loved stores in Kyoto. There were a lot of just vintage stores in general that sold clothing that wasn't designer. Again, very cool for the person who loves to go vintage clothes hunting. There were a few brands there. Again, brand off, it's everywhere. Another one was RT or Ragtag. So Ragtag is a bit of a mix of high-end designer clothing, mid-range designer clothing, and then just normal clothing, but worthwhile going to if you are looking for specific designer clothing. They had a Kindal as well there, so again, same as Tokyo. And really here I was hoping to maybe find a Burberry coat. They did have a selection of Burberry coats, but I actually think they were men's cut, so the waistband doesn't sit right on a men's cut on a woman because it's lower, and the sleeves and shoulders kind of all fit a little bit weird. So I didn't find anything there, and they did have a nice selection of bags. Where I had the most fun was a brand called Salamanca Vintage. They have 2 stores. So the first day we went to one, and they had so many Burberry coats. They actually had so much of everything. I actually think this is like a must visit when you're in Kyoto. The clothing that they had, a lot of coats, really good quality, high-end luxury brand coats, just worthwhile visiting, and the prices weren't that bad. So with the Burberry coats, some were quite vintage and they might be 400 or 500 Australian dollars. Some were newer and that was upwards to 1,000 Australian dollars, but they had a really good selection of sizing, like small, medium, large, extra large is how they kind of grouped it. So definitely worthwhile having a look. It was like a whole rack. I was just trying one after another on, trying to find one that I liked. And so the next day we went to their other store, and that is where I found my new Burberry trench. And I can't really show it to you, but it's this honey color. But I'll put in some mod shots so that you can have a look at what it looks like. And I will also put on screen what the price is. I can't remember off the top of my head. Somewhere between 600 to 700 Australian dollars, which is, you know, about $4,000 cheaper than brand new in store. And it's in really good quality as well. Like there were no stains on this. There are definitely ones with stains, but this one had no stains. Came with all its bits and pieces. The only thing I would maybe go and do is get the sleeves lengthened a tiny bit because I am around 5'5", 165 centimeters, around a US size 6, Australian size 10, Australian UK are the same sizing. So I'm not particularly tall, but I do find that the sleeves are a little bit short. Our final stop is Osaka, and we were only there for one night. So it was a pretty quick whistle stop tour of Osaka. The area that I found almost like a pocket for secondhand luxury was this area called Shinbaibashi, which is right next to Dotonbori, which is basically where all the food markets, it's like a huge undercover food and shopping tunnel district area. Shinbaibashi was pretty incredible for Preloved. You could basically just walk down one street and just go like this across the road, and you were just like in endless shops. At one point my husband was like, I'm just gonna go and pop into this sports bar and just sit for a bit because I don't want to plod along and look at all these stores. And I was like, totally understand, that's fair. I was out there trying to find you guys the best places to go. So again, there are all the usual stores: Kameo, 2nd Street, Brandoff, Okura, Watchnian, etc, etc, etc. Some of the other stores that I thought were quite cool, which I hadn't seen before, was Brand Bag. That one was kind of upstairs. It was mostly, I think, LV. If you're looking for any Louis Vuitton pieces, great place to go. Gallery Rare was another cool one, and I think they had quite a mix of different brands, so a good kind of all-rounder. Loire, very expensive, all Hermes. They had a lot, like they had entire rows of just picotins, but they were all like over $1 million yen, and that just seemed really, really overpriced compared to some of the other stores. Thierry was another one, and I think these were all like on a corner to each other. Great mix of handbags, but also watches upstairs. Brand Shop, now this is the one that I thought had some deals in it. They had some really good deals on Hermes. They had some really good deals on Louis Vuitton, maybe on Chanel as well. But this one was worthwhile going to if you're going to visit one. Brand Shop, not to be confused with the first one, which is Brand Bag. Next to Brand Shop is a vintage designer store called Kaitoridoh, and they had some very cool vintage styles for some very decent prices as well. So if you're looking for a specific vintage Hermes bag, they had a great selection there, along with other brands as well. So worthwhile visiting, especially since they're next to each other. A couple of other ones I went into, Efu, which had a good mix, and Riz as well. Oh, and also Daikokuya, put the spelling up. That was quite a cool one. There was a twilly in there that I absolutely loved, that I had seen the YouTuber Melon Melbourne has wrapped around one of her gold Hermes bags, and I just loved the colors together. I didn't end up buying it because in my mind I was like, I'm probably not going to wrap it around my picotin, so probably not worth me trying to get. Okay, that was a lot of information to share. Overall feelings. I think Osaka was best priced out of all 3 cities. I only saw Burberry coats in Kyoto, and mostly at, I think it was 2nd Street, Ragtag, and Salamanca Vintage. Those are literally the only place out of every store I went to where I saw Burberry coats. So if you're looking for a Burberry coat, and I know I was chatting to someone in the comments who said that's what you were looking for, if you're going to Kyoto, Salamanca Vintage had the biggest selection, and I would 100% say go there. Variety, Tokyo had the biggest variety, but the pricing was pretty on par across the board. There wasn't really any deals to be had. If you're thinking, I want to buy some luxury designer on my Japan trip, and you've heard about lots of good deals, Osaka actually had the better deals than Tokyo. I know a lot of people talk about there's certain shops in Tokyo that everyone goes to. You see it in every single video. come to Japan, look at these stores. I know Amore is one of them. There's other ones. I'll put them on the screen, the names. They're all beautifully done, but they're very expensive. And I'd actually genuinely say it's better to just have a look in Osaka. I even went into the Kameo in Osaka and actually found this incredibly beautiful mini Loewe puzzle in a silver. And if you've been following along, you know a silver bag is kind of on my list. I didn't end up buying it. I was close. And they were kind of like, oh, we might be able to give you a discount. So I just think Osaka had the better pricing, to be honest. Definitely look for things that you wouldn't be able to normally get, like a cadena if you're interested in something like that, because the pricing is a little bit fairer there in Japan in general. I feel like I've been talking a million miles per minute. So as always, it is lovely to hear from you. So please do put any questions or comments below. I will happily answer any questions because there's probably things I glossed over or didn't go into enough detail about as I rambled on. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I will put up a couple other videos for you to view if you enjoyed this. As always, please remember to like and subscribe. It means the world to me. But I really hope you have an absolutely lovely day or night wherever you might be. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.